orange and blue sunset and mile high here in Broncos country. Let's get ready to ride. Russ and the rest are gonna light up the sky. We'll break it down after the game with the guys. Hometown heroes with their own sports bar. The best coverage in Denver, don't go too far. Just turn on DNVR. We are DNVR.
Great sound.
I don't know.
DNVR Broncos Live, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Get over to DraftKings Sportsbook, where I made a lot of money last night.
Oh, heck yeah.
There's nothing that can turn a terrible primetime matchup into a great primetime matchup than some bets that might hit and that eventually do hit.
Oh, yeah. What'd you hit on?
A lot. SGP of Cooper Rush over 19 completions. Tony Pollard over 39 rushing yards. Saquon over 30 receiving yards. And Daniel Jones over 19 rushing yards.
There you go. Those all hit with flying colors.
Yes, they did. Plus 1,000 on that bad boy. Then I had a bunch of that stuff just played solo. And then I also had Cowboys money line.
There you go. And well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And speaking of making money, our guy Gregory back at it.
Oh,
again
let's go,
Gregory.
With a huge
Gregory.
super chat to start us off.
Gregory.
Thank you, Gregory.
We appreciate that, Gregory, with the $100 super chat. I can get you a ticket to the tailgate in London.
You put that on the bet you had last night.
Yep.
Okay, right there.
Yeah, I would be rich. And by the way, quickly talk about London. A bunch of people have been reaching out to me, and it's just a good time for me to remind people, like, if you have any questions, just DM me. I'll answer you. We can talk about whatever questions you may have. Hey, what if I am doing this and then, that the other thing. So DM me about that stuff. I'm always willing to help with that kind of thing. The other thing is we will also be doing some informal stuff. So this is like, there was a big demand of like, hey, no one's doing any events. So we started looking into, hey, well, what would it be for us to do events? So we put together these, these big events on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But Tuesday through Friday, definitely Tuesday through Thursday, we're going to be doing the podcast out somewhere. At least that's our goal. It's hard to like give everyone all the details on Twitter. Here's the big issue that we're running into right now in terms of doing live podcasts. Pubs in London are like the size of this room. And so when we tell them like, hey, can we come do a podcast there? They're like, that would take up like 40% of our seating. So we're trying to find places around town that will do it. We're on the right track at least. But it sounds really cool just the way that it's set up there. Like the pub is essentially like just the bar, and then everyone just hangs out and like outside of it.
I love it. I can't wait. We're about a month away.
Isn't it cold in London?
It will be,
Yeah.
Seems like there'd be an inside place.
I know.
I
They're
guess-
just built different, dude.
Wow, I'm excited
They
to
just
learn
like
about
to,
them.
rip heaters and drink outside.
Wow,
Even if it's 50 degrees.
what a place.
And foggy.
And speaking of London,
Oh, yes. We talked about this visual meme yesterday, and our guy Jim, a.k.a. Sir James, turned it into a actual meme.
oh my
Yes.
goodness.
It's the best body of water there is. A river.
I've spent a lot of
Couldn't
time.
disagree more.
I've spent a lot of time
Wow.
thinking about this, and I do appreciate a good river. Like the Yampa River up in Steamboat. Wow, great river. But I think I want to stake my claim as a lakesman.
Really?
Oh, again,
Yes.
terrible choice. You have to go with ocean.
No,
That is the
no.
only right answer.
I would actually make the case ocean is the worst body of water.
I would take the
Get
ocean
outta
over the
here.
lake.
No.
Anything you can do in a lake, you can do in an ocean.
No.
Lakes are fake oceans. They're
No,
wannabe
yes,
oceans.
they're
They're
fresh
not
water.
good enough.
Saltwater is
They're not
terrible.
good enough versions of it. Anything, yeah, kind
not
of like
drinking it.
Henry said. Anything
Accidentally, you do.
No,
anything
keep your
you
mouth
do in
shut.
a lake, you do way better in an ocean.
Definitely
and
not.
And it's way better.
Imagine fishing
No.
in the ocean versus fishing in a lake. Not that I would fish it either, but I'd imagine it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, fishing in a lake is cooler.
No, it is
No.
not.
Yes,
No,
it
it is
is.
not. The fish are smaller. They're
Right.
not as colorful.
Right,
They're just worse in
right.
general.
So
But there's way more action
there's just
because there's less place for the fish to go.
But there's more fish in the ocean.
Yes,
true.
but there's
lot
definitely
bigger
way
fish.
in terms of fish to cubic feet. It's way better in a lake.
How
Okay,
are
you're
those-
both wrong.
how are
You're
those-
both wrong.
how are
It's
those
a river.
How are those coral reefs in rivers and
Okay.
lakes? How is
I just like being on a boat, and when you go on a boat in a lake, it's just like a nice chill experience. When you go on a boat in a water, there's waves and you're like moving around, you get seasick. You can just go out on a boat, like cast out a line, crack a beer, and just chill, listen to some country music.
and that's it.
No,
I,
you're making
I'm
this sound terrible.
yeah, I'm not trying to do the whole fishing scene. I'm not just trying to sit in one place for 8 hours, not
Exactly.
move, get barely
Also-
any action.
River.
I'm trying to
River.
do stuff.
Also-
Ocean, wave.
Also, wake surfing better than wave surfing.
The
That's
chat
just
is
easier. It's
really
just easier.
split.
Yes, exactly.
No, it's the answer though is a river. It goes somewhere. You just sit on the river. There's no thinking about anything. You don't have to think like, oh, should we drive over to the other side of the lake? Should we go over to the other side of the lake? No, river takes you everywhere there is to go. It's like a journey. You get to see everything.
You guys
There's
are
no
just-
stress.
You guys are just big market guys. Like you like the coasts.
No.
I like middle
Oh
America.
my God.
These
I
are
will
my
say-
people.
I will
You
hold
don't
on,
really
guys,
like
hold on.
Colorado
Goodness.
if you're
Al-
arguing for lakes.
Alex,
what do you mean?
Robert,
What rivers
not
in
that
LA?
many lakes here.
I said rivers and lakes are close.
Bad
Ocean
lakes in
last
Colorado.
place.
bad lakes in
okay,
Denver.
Yes.
Alex,
Bad
Denver.
lakes.
I mean,
Yes.
all cities have bad lake setups.
Ever heard of Minneapolis, bud?
Oh my
What
God.
about Chicago?
What's the lake setup there?
Chicago? What's the lake setup?
Yeah.
How about lake, whichever
Yeah,
Lake
great lake it
Michigan.
is that's right there?
That's not
Yeah.
a great lake setup.
Yeah. Oh my god. It
Yeah,
is
that's
the
about-
most
No.
literal Great Lake setup there is.
Yeah, it is not the greatest lake setup.
It is
right?
technically a great lake setup.
Yes, it is.
But it is not a great lake setup.
Rivers,
No,
they
the
go
best-
somewhere. Would you rather go to a pool or a lazy river?
A pool.
Shut
Pool.
up! You just said that. It's not true. You don't even believe that.
It's one of the best arguments we've had in a
Ugh.
while. The best part about a lake is being secluded, and that you don't get that at Lake Michigan.
What about a freaking river?
I'm not anti-river. I'm pro-river. I am anti-ocean.
I'm
Okay.
anti-lake now.
Can I get something in here? Okay, Alex Roberts Fishing, the guy who has fish in his profile picture says, RK has it right, boys. The fisherman has spoken.
Okay.
So he, at least on the fishing end, not everything else, at least on the fishing end.
Ask him right now if he's a lake fisherman or an ocean fisherman, because
Also-
I
I was
bet
gonna
he's
say
biased.
You can
Yes.
ask him
Yes.
too right now.
100%.
Hi, Alex.
A true fisherman fishes in all conditions, and I can say I've fished in oceans, lakes, and rivers. And lakes slightly ahead of rivers. Oceans is cool because, like,
See, there
I've,
we go. End it. Oceans is cool.
They're
I've,
so
like,
cool.
I've caught a marlin before, and that is very different than catching like a brown trout on the Colorado.
So
but,
the debate is over, Ryan. You just ended it.
but it's like it's so much harder. It's like
Why are you always looking for the easy route?
It's just more
That is
fun.
true.
It's like, are you gonna sit on a boat? People are getting seasick. You're there for 8 hours,
goodness.
nothing happens, or you're like gonna go to a river, have a good time, cast a couple lines, and save a lot of money.
He just said go to a river and do that.
Rivers
At
are
least for you,
incredible.
Henry.
Rivers are incredible.
are
They go
great,
somewhere.
too.
You sit on the river. You start wherever you want to start. You go down. It's a journey. There's rapids. There's sitting. It's just the most perfect place you could be. Also, Alex says oceans are too easy for fishing.
Oh, that's a fisherman himself.
I guess
He
it depends
said,
on
I
what
do
you're fishing
both,
for."
prefer lakes and rivers. Read both comments, not the one you want, Hank.
Yeah,
Gotta give the
Hank.
people both of them.
But only one.
You could definitely, if you want to just catch like skipjack in the ocean, yeah, you can catch that all day long. But
Catch what?
skipjack,
Who's that?
it's a type of fish.
Really?
Yes.
Ryan actually does a lot about fish. Every time we go, he catches a fish. And I don't know how he does that.
Yep.
Anyways,
Because
that's
no
great.
one
I'll
else
give you
does.
guys rivers and lakes. I'll take oceans all
Yep.
to myself.
Yeah,
Also-
Fantastic.
Other piece.
You can't wear that no coast bias shirt.
The fish in lakes
Coastal
are
bias.
the worst to eat. All the ocean fish taste much better than the lake fish.
Huh.
That's
Plus, then
True.
you throw in
True.
crustaceans as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Thank you for arguing for oceans.
Someone-
But the answer is still
Appreciate
rivers.
that.
someone in the comments said, I think this is the most heated debate DNVR has ever had.
It's because it's all three of us are on a different side.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put a poll in the chat,
Yeah,
guys.
so true.
I'm going to put a poll in the YouTube chat, so let me know.
All
your
right.
vote
Do we
there.
think today's debate is going to be just as heated?
Probably not.
This
I think
one's gonna
this
be
one's pretty easy.
straightforward, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into our AFC West power rankings, and it's a fascinating discussion. And I was joking about this with Andre on bets just a second ago.
Wow, you already took our idea? And
No,
used it
Oh
for
my
bets?
goodness,
No, I didn't.
that's what they do.
I gotta surprise him now.
But we can't have
be
guess
telling
the
him our
lines.
ideas anymore.
I did not. It has nothing to do
Yeah,
with
we
that.
can't have guess the lines.
Everyone had the AFC West as a great division.
No, as the best division in NFL history.
Yep, I said in sports history. Hank pushed back on that. Maybe he was right. Everyone thought the AFC South was garbage, and it was going to be led by a mediocre Colts team.
Oh, not me. I don't think put Henry and I in that group.
You definitely did not pick the Jags to win the division.
I picked him to make the playoffs.
You
I
did.
just got him at plus 225 today to win the division.
Ooh, I like that.
Anyways, everyone thought the AFC South sucked, and I don't even think you would deny that. And all 3 AFC West teams that lost last week lost to AFC South teams.
How about that?
So it's just goes to show you that football is so unpredictable, at least on a week-to-week basis, and that's what makes it so exciting. And now you have no undefeated teams in the AFC West, 1-2-1 team that feels pretty good about where they are in the Chiefs, a 2-1 team in the Broncos that still has certainly more questions than answers,
Yep.
a 1-2 Chargers team who is literally falling apart by the second.
Yeah.
Like just wheels rolling, the transmissions dragging, and finally an 0-3 Raiders team that I don't even think feels that bad. Like they don't feel as bad as they should at 0-3, and it just creates such a weird situation where like the only true constant here is the Chiefs, and despite their loss to the Colts, I still feel like they're still the Chiefs. They have the most continuity of anyone in the division. And for me, they're the easy number 1 right now.
Of course. And until someone knocks them off or completely surpasses them in the standings and the Chiefs showed that they have issues that they can't overcome, they lost with the Colts scored a touchdown with like 18 seconds left in the game. It's not like they got blown out or looked really bad. So, yes, the Chiefs are still the class of this division.
Easily. I mean, they can't run the football. The defense can be a little bit leaky. They're not getting the same like big completions down the field that they got in the past. They're still playing some of the best football in the NFL, and it's a lot easier to see them getting better than getting worse from here, I think.
I will say the offensive struggle started in that Chargers game. Because remember, everyone saw week 1 that, they went crazy against the Cardinals, and everyone was like, oh, they might even be better without Tyreek Hill, which I pushed back on. The next week against the Chargers, you saw them start to have those issues pop up, which is just like, what I think is that they don't have a go-to guy anymore. That's just like, hey, if he's open, go to him. And you're seeing the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Not if he's open. Even if he's covered, go to him. And you're seeing the same thing with Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams. It's just like sometimes you just need that guy to just go get it. And Travis Kelce is also up there now, so he can't exactly be that guy. But despite all of that stuff, they're clearly playing the best football in the division.
Definitely. And I think the one thing that should give Broncos fans hope is just the Chiefs' schedule. It's insane going forward. They're at Tampa this week versus the Raiders right after, which, it's whatever, but they'll be desperate. Versus Buffalo, at San Francisco, versus the Titans, versus the Jags, at the Chargers, versus the Rams, at Cincinnati, at Denver. That's any one of those games is very losable. You probably pick them to win almost all of them, but I think there's a real chance that if the Broncos can handle business, that first Chiefs game won't feel like there's too much pressure on it compared to what you'd have to expect in a divisional game between teams kind of at the top of the division.
Well, let's go through that because you mentioned some good teams that on the Chiefs' schedule. There's no doubt. How many of those games are they going to be underdogs? Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to lose a game. They're not going to lose a game where they're not the favorite. But this week, they're the favorites, even though the game is in Tampa. They're a 1.5-point favorite. Who's the next week?
Versus the Raiders. They'll be
They'll be
favorites.
favored.
Versus Buffalo
Where's the game?
in Kansas City. I
It's gonna be
still
really
think
close,
they're
but
slight
they'll probably
underdogs.
Probably be favored.
Oh,
yeah.
I think they'll be
I
favorites.
think they will.
Oh,
be
you do?
too.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the home field.
At San Francisco,
Favored.
favored. Versus the Titans, versus the
Favored.
Jags, favored. At the
Favored.
Chargers,
Favored.
probably favored. Home against the Rams,
Favorite.
favored.
I think
at
at this
Cincinnati,
point-
at Denver.
Yeah, I think at this point they're probably favored in all those games, but all it takes is a loss this week, and you
Yep.
know, all of a sudden they're not going to be dogs at home to the Raiders the next week. But the way the NFL is this year is so epic because there, at least to this point, there is not a true set of bottom feeders of just like these teams are trash, pencil them in as a win, or Sharpie them in as a win, and it's creating a really cool situation. At the same time, even the best teams have shown cracks in the foundation. So it's like there is a big middle class, a giant middle class in the NFL right now. And the upper class and lower class aren't separating themselves at all. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I just say that, and I know the schedule's getting tough for the Chiefs. They're going to lose 2 games in that stretch or something. They're still
Definitely.
going to be very good.
They just lost to the Colts.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the Colts, your Colts. Remember the Colts that you thought were so good?
No, I was just anti-Jags.
I think the Broncos beat the Colts in a couple of 8 days.
Wow.
9 days.
That's such a quick turnaround.
I know.
So it's just what I mean is it's so hard to say what anyone is going to do right now because every game is a toss-up.
But and I guess here's what I'm saying is not with the Chiefs. I think you can look at a couple of teams in the NFL, despite some teams losing, despite the Bills losing this week to the Dolphins. You can look at them down the road and say, yeah, they're still going to be really good. You can look at the Chiefs, not just from this year, what they've done in 3 games, but throughout the past 5 years when they've had this crew and say, yeah, the Chiefs are going to be fine. You can say that with the Bucks too. We had someone in the comment section saying the Bucks look shaky this year. I'm going to bet that they're going to end up being just fine.
And that's the offense that looks shaky. Just
Yeah,
real
the
quick.
defense.
The defense is the best defense, I
It
think,
is
of the
9
NFL.
points per game.
But
Insane.
what I'm saying is you would have said that last week about the Chiefs, and then they would have turned right around and lost to the Colts.
Yeah.
The 0-1-1 Colts.
Yes. But over the course of 9 games, the next however many games that was, 7 to 9 games, they're probably going to go 7-2. They're probably going to go 5-2. What however many games that is. They're going to
Probably.
be fine.
I think they will get tested week in and week out, though. They're going to have to prove it. And, I mean, the flip side of all this, right now, the Football Power Index on ESPN, it has the Broncos favored in 4 games the rest of the season.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to number 2, where I think things get really interesting.
I don't think so.
And I think okay. I think you could have made a case for the Chargers if they were healthy.
Yep.
But
I
they're
agree.
not.
That's fair.
And they're not even close to healthy. And you can make a case for the Chargers if Justin Herbert was healthy and all these other injuries existed. Well, Justin Herbert is as far from healthy as it comes. Russell Wilson is not playing good ball right now, but he's healthy. And so you feel comfortable that they're going to build on that. There's no case here. The Denver Broncos are number 2 in the AFC West. Now, pretty far gap between the Chiefs and Broncos. But then I think there's also a far gap between the Broncos and the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit closer. I do think that they still have some nice pieces. Running the ball, it's not really their thing, so you can't wait it too much, but they're nothing special there. The receiver situation, they're still going to be fine as long as they have Herbert, just not quite so explosive. And the
That's
Broncos
the thing,
are just
though.
playing so
That's
bad.
the thing is how long until Herbert is Herbert again? And I think they're mismanaging this right now.
Yeah.
And so if you keep trotting him out there every week, he's going to keep getting hit in the ribs. And to me, this could end up being a season-long thing where he never is himself. It's like when Drew Lock got that AC joint sprain, and I was just like, okay, well, this season is now an AC joint sprain season. And it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of the Drew Lock story. But the point is, if you don't allow an injury to heal, you're dealing with that all season. We might only get 80% Justin Herbert at his best. So I think that is the number one thing with the Chargers right now is, are they going to rest him for 2 weeks? Because if they do, then I'll feel better about their long-term chances. The same thing, though, they're 1-2.
Yeah.
If you rest them for 2 weeks, you might turn around and be 1-4 and be done.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in such a weird position right now. But like I said yesterday, you have to look at the long term for Justin Herbert, for this team. The best thing would be to rest them. They're 4.5-point favorites against the Texans this week, which has dropped. I'm staying so far away from that game because
Taking the Texans
I don't
money
know.
line.
Oh, there you go. The Texans have not won a game. One of only 2 teams that have not won a game in the NFL this year. The other being the Las Vegas Raiders. And I don't like the Chargers to beat them just because. Did you guys see how much pain Justin Herbert was in? Not just when he suffered the injury, but this week when he's getting hit by the Jags. He was in so much pain when he got hit. And it's like, man, I appreciate the toughness. And he certainly showed his teammates that he can play through it. But at a time, you have to say, this is just not worth it for you. You're saying you're going to play, we're going to hold you back.
What's hilarious to me is I'm still seeing clips of like amazing throws he made on Twitter, and I'm just like, they lost 38-10. Like, are we just going to ignore that part? Like, at a certain point, Justin Herbert just becomes a guy who makes amazing plays and loses.
Well, I'm not holding that game against him.
Yeah.
I think it was an embarrassment for the Chargers for many reasons. Organizationally, a lot of their players got beat as well. Health
The conversation
wasn't there.
going into the game was whether or not their quarterback wanted to get a shot from the doctor who stabbed Tyrod Taylor in the lung.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment
Just
for the,
across
the
board,
for
yeah.
the organization. I'm not putting that loss on him.
I'm not either, but I'm just saying, like, that's his career to this point, is amazing plays and L's.
Is that... Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. He's what,
Look,
24,
just
25?
go look at go look at the record. It's not all on him, of course. I'm just saying, like, at a certain point,
it's not all amazing plays. It's really good football play too. It's not the way you're saying it is like it's great highlights, and then there's a lot of lowlights. Justin Herbert doesn't have that many true lowlights.
fair enough.
And he's not going to be 25 till after the season. So, it's still a bit early to be talking about, like, career arc narratives.
Yeah, I mean, people decided that Lamar Jackson couldn't throw for the pocket after 8 games.
That's true, and that was wrong.
And
No, I know.
wrong.
I'm just saying, like, this is what happens. Narratives get written.
Lamar Jackson's your MVP right now.
Or Jalen Hurts.
Or Jalen Hurts. Yep. I think
Anyways,
Lamar Jackson's stats are better.
I think this is where I will differ from you guys. And this might sound crazy, but I think I would put the Raiders as number 3.
Of course you
Oh,
would.
wow.
Of course you would.
Yep.
The Raiders that are the biggest choke jobs artists in the entire NFL right now.
Yep.
They can't keep a lead. They can't stay with the team for a first half. They get blown out in the first half, and then it's too much for them to overcome.
They don't have
Totally.
anything they're good at right now.
And despite that, they're just I feel like internally they feel better right now than the Chargers.
They are so dysfunctional that Devontae Adams isn't even their leading receiver.
Oh,
That's
he's
crazy.
been...
Like, and it's not like
Yeah.
it's Darren Waller. It's not like it's Hunter Renfrow. No, it's not that. They're in such disarray right now.
Yeah,
I
they
was
really are.
writing about all this today, and it'll be in the ride tonight. The Raiders and the way they use Devontae Adams is just insane. Like, they don't know what they're doing. Josh McDaniels is not letting him get one-on-ones. Like, they're forcing him into the slot. He was kept in pass protection for the second snap of his career this week. He took his first rush attempt because they decided they needed to get him going with a jet sweep and lost 4 yards. This won't put him in space and let him play. He's playing the slot more than ever in his career. It's just brutal watching what they're doing. Meanwhile, Darren Waller has 3 balls bounce off his hands. One winds up being a pick that doesn't seal the game but makes it almost impossible to come back. That team is really struggling.
I'll just say Devonta Adams gets what he deserves. Like, you go
Wow.
to the Raiders in free agency.
They traded.
Oh, sorry. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But
Sign and trade, so he's coming.
He
Yeah.
kind of forced.
Yeah.
he kind of forced his way
Yes.
out. Fair enough. Just look at the history of guys like that. Look at Randy Moss. Peak of his career, goes to the Raiders, completely becomes irrelevant, and has to go to the Patriots to essentially, like, revive his legacy.
and prove that he's not just a good receiver. He's like still one of the
Yep.
best.
Yes,
ever.
and he had, like, one of the best seasons of all time with
22
Tom.
touchdown catches.
But it's just, yeah, if you're a wide receiver who purposefully goes to the Raiders, you get what you deserve.
Unfortunately, Devontae Adams is going to be fine. He has 34 targets in the first 3 games. He had 17 the first game, 17 combined the previous 2 games. But still, you're getting 11 targets per game. You're going to put up your numbers. He's going
That might
to
even be more concerning that he's getting targeted that much and it's not working.
But I mean, they're just going to keep doing it, though. And so I think
So you mean
numbers-wise,
statistically?
statistically, I think Devontae Adams is going to be just fine. And I see what you're saying about making that argument, Ryan, putting the Raiders ahead of the Chargers because of the injuries. But there's issues that are higher up on the totem pole with the Raiders than there are with the Chargers. Josh McDaniels had a extra long meeting with Mark Davis after the game. I think there's already turmoil, questions there. Maybe not about firing Josh after week 3 or week 4 this week, but more so about what are we doing? We need to do things differently. There was obviously had to be so many questions going into how Josh McDaniels was going to handle things with how it unfolded in Denver and then what he did to the Colts. And I think you're starting to see those things already fall apart.
And I'll say I think the Chargers are closer to the Broncos than the Raiders are to the Chargers. I think if in 2 weeks, you have Keenan Allen, Corey Linsley, Joey Bosa, J.C. Jackson. Like, they're all back, and they're all kind of in that week-to-week type deal. If they were all healthy, I'd put them in front of the Broncos.
Yeah, these players are just getting bad injuries. Like, a pass rusher with a groin injury is not a thing that you want to happen.
No, it is not.
Obviously, you lose Jalen Guyton, who is like, a nice slot speed piece for them. You're in and out with all of your other guys. And then, again, it just comes back to, what are you doing? What are you going to do with Justin Herbert? Because you already messed it up once. The move was to rest him last week and then see how things were this week. But you thought, hey, let's play him this week and get a win. We'll be 2-1, and then we can reevaluate. But because you got your doors blown off, now you're in this weird no man's land, and I think they're just going to keep thrusting him out there, and you're just not going to see Justin Herbert be Justin Herbert. I don't know what his stats were the other day, but I imagine they can't be good.
Well, and now you don't have Rashawn Slater, who's one of the, 5 best tackles in the NFL.
Yeah.
You don't have Corey Linsley, who's one of the 3 best centers in the NFL. So you have a hurt quarterback, and you're putting him behind a worse offensive line, meaning he's going to take more hits. And beyond that, the running game is even less likely to get going, which means you have to throw even more and put him in harm's way even more. It's for them, it's all about surviving these next couple weeks. Texans this week, Browns the week after. And if they lose either one of those games, the Broncos are going to have a chance to send them to 2-4 the week after that. And if they can do that, all of a sudden the Broncos and Chiefs could kind of whittle this down to a 2-horse race.
What's crazy about the Raiders is they lose this week, and then they're at KC next week.
Yeah.
0-5 in a heartbeat.
Remember when we picked them to lose like the first 5 games of the season?
We saw this coming. But this week is huge for the Raiders.
Yes.
If the Raiders win, they're only 1 game back of the Broncos, potentially tied with the Chargers as well, or only 1 game back of the Chargers. And then you're talking about, okay, and now it's the rest of the West just trying to catch the Chiefs, the rest of the West trying to get an AFC wild card spot. So there's a lot, and if they lose, they're done. Their season's over, completely done.
And I'm taking the Bucs against the Chiefs this week too.
So there you go. Then it keeps the division close. But let's say the Raiders beat the Broncos. And I'm not saying that's what happened. Let's say the Raiders beat the Broncos. How does this change in 1 week from now when we're looking at these power rankings?
It opens up a lot of things. It obviously supports my take of saying that the Raiders might be number 3.
Unless the Chargers win.
Yeah, but I mean the Chargers would be beating the Texans. So it wouldn't, I didn't say it completely justifies it, but at least it makes it sound less crazy.
Yeah.
The Broncos are down to 2-2, and if the Chargers are 2-2, then they can make that case again. So it can change everything, really. And then depending on what happens with the Chiefs, they can either pull away or be still right there with the pack. By the way, Justin Herbert, 25 of 45, 6.6 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a 39 QBR.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't this game for the Broncos, they can separate themselves and be closer to the Chiefs as a dominant team in the AFC West as opposed to just a team that's chasing the Chiefs, and that's a huge place to be.
Yeah, there is a chance that after this week there can be 2 tiers of teams in the AFC West.
Yep.
The Broncos, the Chiefs in 1 tier, and the Chargers and Raiders in another.
Yep, exactly. So really quick, I went through and looked at all the stats and put together the Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, and Chiefs, and scored their defense compared to defense and offense on how they were compared to the rest of the league. Tell me who you guys think these teams are.
Okay.
A team with a slightly above average offense and a below average defense.
By what?
What?
By what? Scoring, yards?
All of it. Scoring yards,
overall.
Offensive yards, passing yards, rushing yards.
Okay, so you're just taking like a general...
Yep.
So you said a slightly
above average offense and a below average defense.
Wow, that is tough. I'll take the Chargers there.
Okay.
below average defense. Yeah, they did.
I could read all of these to you if you want as well. Read all
yeah,
of
we
these.
could match them.
all
We
of
could
them.
match them.
Okay, there's a team with an average offense and an average defense.
Okay.
There's a team with a bottom third offense and an elite top five
that's the
defense.
Broncos.
I have a good
Okay.
feeling. Yep.
And then there's a team with an elite top five offense and a slightly above average defense.
That's the Chargers. No, wait, no, that's
That
the
would be
Chiefs. That's the Chiefs.
That would be the Chiefs.
Okay, you guys are right about that. You were right about the Broncos with obviously a bottom third offense and an elite defense.
Okay.
The Chiefs' defense is slightly above average for these first 3 games, and obviously an elite offense. And then we have an average offense and an average defense.
Okay.
And we have a slightly above average offense and a below average defense.
That's got to be the Raiders.
Which one?
The slightly above average offense, below average defense.
Okay.
I'll say that's the Chargers.
It is the Raiders.
Okay.
The Raiders slightly above average offense,
Got it.
below average defense. Not as bad as I would have thought.
I thought he would have
defensively.
given it to you if you got it right. So I was like, I'll just guess the other side.
And the Chargers, just an average offense and an average defense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what they are. And without the players that we're talking about, that goes even lower. You know? Like, where they should be based on the talent on their roster is top 10 offense, top 10 defense.
Yeah.
But they're the Chargers. So that just like you lose a couple points there. So now you're down to like little outside the top 10 for both of those. And then they just start getting injured. And now they're middle of the road. It's probably going to end up being below that for the defense with all the injuries there. And without that offensive line, especially without Slater, like you just lost your anchor.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
And Lindsley, too, who is maybe just better than Slater, but at a less important position.
Crazy.
2 linemen. That's
And
terrible.
what's the deal with Lindsley?
He is... Let's see. I just put it in my notes earlier. Oh, no.
All right.
There he
Wow.
is. Knee injury. He might be back this week. Knee injury.
Okay, so it's not full-on disaster for them
No, but
along
that's
the
like-
offensive line quite yet.
Exactly. And same thing with like Keenan Allen could be back. Joey Bosa is going to be back in a few weeks. Week to week, I guess you don't really know. J.C. Jackson eventually, you would think, figures out that ankle thing, but who knows?
I'm getting Bryce Callahan vibes from J.C. Jackson right now, which is like he had that foot injury and then he kept trying to play on it and it was messed up and just never like fully got healthy that year.
Speaking of Bryce, is he still healthy?
I believe
'Cause
so.
he was playing really good football in the first at least 2 weeks of the season. I don't know what he did last week.
Yeah, I didn't
Probably
see.
didn't do too well last week, giving up 38 points to the Jags.
That's a very good
Yep.
point. So yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was jumping back to that Bucks game. I just looked it up because I was surprised they were favored. So, and then I also made a bet on the Bucks. But FPI has Tampa with a 66% chance of winning. Football Outsiders has them as a much better team than Kansas City is. Plus, they're at home, so you'd imagine they have them favored, but I can't find the actual line. And then 538 has a 60% chance of winning for Tampa.
There you go. So you're
So get in on the Bucks.
with this game. What I love about it, it's Sunday Night Football. We may have wrapped up our pod by then and get to watch it, but it's also 2 teams coming off pretty big losses. The Colts was just like a surprising, really disappointing loss when they really should have won that game many different times, but they didn't. So I love that they're going to be bouncing back, going up against a team that's going to be bouncing back from a loss that they were never in that game against the Packers. The Packers just dominated. Then the Bucks came back and had an opportunity to tie it with the 2-point conversion, and they get a delay of game with
Happens to
Tom
everyone.
Brady as their quarterback. Speaking of happening to everyone, did you guys see Peyton Manning freaking out about timeouts yesterday too? That was
Yes.
fantastic.
He said, "Am I the only person who likes to call timeouts?"
I mean, that one just as much as it was with the Broncos was just so mind numbing. You're sitting there and you're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Why aren't they calling a timeout? And then Peyton's like, well, at this point, don't call a timeout. Literally right after he says that, they call a timeout.
Yeah. What do you guys think? The big take online is that the Manning cast shouldn't have guests. How do you feel about that?
It's just so hard because you have to get like the rhythm right, especially with the delay that happens when people talk.
Yes.
You know, so there's like that little 1.5-second pause before the person getting, between every interaction. So like Tracy Morgan was on last night, and Tracy Morgan's
disaster.
he's being Tracy Morgan out there. He's like, haha, and then he makes another thing a second later, and he's just so uncomfortable with any amount of silence that every time there's that little second pause, he starts talking again, just over and over and over. I like the guess.
Yeah,
it's just
I
tough.
think
You got to speed that up. How's that happen?
It's got to be the right guest, and they have to have the right setup where it's a good enough connection. Like Pat McAfee, I love that. That was fantastic. But you know what? He does this stuff all of the time from his home studio, and he was set up for it. And he also just is a guy where you know he's going to gel. But then you bring in some other celebrities, and it does slow it down. And you can really tell if it's going to be a good guest pretty much right away after both Eli and Peyton ask a question or talk to the guest, because you can see just on their facial expressions how comfortable they are.
Yes.
And you can tell right away. And if they're comfortable like they were with Pat, it's going to be great. If they're not, well, it's going to be like the back and forth and the chippy, the where they're talking over each other with Tracy.
Couple things for me. One, I think it should only be football-based guests. Because that's where they sometimes a guest can bring more out of them.
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy Johnson, I thought, they had some interesting conversations there, although he might be a little too old for the show.
Straight up.
Pat McAfee obviously was the best and is going to probably continue to be the best.
Russ was there last year.
Right. When Russ was on there, I liked it. Those enhance it. Whereas when they go to celebrity guests, it just feels so awkward to me. And the big thing is that Peyton and Eli don't know how to interview someone.
Right. And they're probably given these questions by their producers to, here's what you're going to ask. Whereas it's a lot more conversational because they don't need those questions when it's ball. Yeah.
Also, just can we just once get them together in the same place?
It would be nice.
It would up the production value so much.
I love that they have that much power, though. Where it's we'll sign on to do this massive deal. We'll be broadcasting on ESPN2 all these games. We're not doing it together, though. You're not getting me to take a flight to the other side of the country once a week.
It's pretty baller. And also on top of that, Peyton's working out of his friend's garage. And they still put together that sort of set where it has 10 TVs. One of them's 150 inches, and it's awesome.
It is crazy.
I will say I haven't been bothered by them being remote with their connection. I feel like their connection has always been pretty good. But yeah, I guess sometimes it's killer.
Yeah, you miss things. I mean, we did a year worth of remote shows.
Yeah.
And there's just nonverbal communication and things like that just get lost when you're remote.
Yeah.
Definitely. But even just the way they get in and out of breaks and stuff. When they end the show, it's just hilarious. Peyton's just well, yeah, I'll see you next week, bud.
See, I love that.
Just talking
and
like
at
that.
first, I think there was a lot of criticism after their first 2 episodes when it debuted last year, and it was well, it's gonna get better. I like how it just hasn't.
It just doesn't matter.
On that. Exactly.
No, it's two guys
it
talking
doesn't
football.
matter, and so that's what I like about it is they're not trying to replicate and take over the actual broadcast. They're just being them.
Yeah. And when I'm just being me, I get in and out of breaks perfectly. So let's talk about DraftKings Sportsbook. If you want to bet on that Sunday Night Football, if you want to bet on that Sunday Night Football game or any other game this week, get over to DraftKings Sportsbook where they have so many great options. Like I said, I made a boatload last night, and that's just the best. Thursday Night Football, Bengals, Dolphins. Hopefully we get Tua in there. They're continuing to lie about him not having a concussion, saying some other stuff might hold him out. But let's hope he gets in there and he's not concussed, so he can play safely and we get an awesome matchup there. But you can get in on that over at DraftKings Sportsbook and so much more.
Plus
and
150.
You can also get you can bet $5 to get $200 in free bets on any NFL money line this week. So get over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR when you sign up. Of course, age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
And in 9 days, the Broncos will have played 2 games, and you're going to want to be there on Thursday night. And that means if you're going to the game, you're going to want to come by our tailgate because next Thursday night is the next Broncos tailgate. We had one 2 days ago, and we already have one next week. It is awesome. I love it. And Thursday night, take Friday off so you can really enjoy
Take
the
Thursday
tailgate.
off, too.
Exactly. Sure. Take
Quit
Thursday
your
off,
job.
too. There you go. Quit your job. Then you can just get ready for the tailgate for 9 straight days. You'll be the
Don't quit
most
your
lit
job.
person
Don't do
there. Yeah, maybe don't quit your job, but do come down to the tailgate, and you can purchase tickets over on our Eventbrite page. You can also go to the DNVR and find us there. But come to the tailgate; it's gonna be awesome.
Yes, and members, you get a special price. So make sure you use the DNVR link on our website where it says tailgate, so you get your price that you deserve for being a DNVR member.
And when you get to the tailgate, you'll be drinking Breckenridge beers. I guess there's also a cash bar, but It's a tailgate. It's a place for beer. It's what you're supposed to drink there.
Place for beer. That's a good tagline for something.
The bar.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
A place for beer. But yeah, I mean, the tailgate is definitely a place for beer. It's the official drink of football, just beer in general. With Breckenridge Brewery, you can try out the Strawberry Sky, the Vanilla Porter, the Avalanche. I haven't been too creative with my drinks recently. It's basically just been all Strawberry Skies. I haven't even had
Still
like
warm out,
seltzers.
so-
It's a heater.
Yep.
That is true. That is true. I'm sure it'll change. I think I might get into that Vanilla Porter. That might be the move this winter.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Breck Brew taste test after this show.
Wow.
So you're
Where
getting
I'm-
drunk is what you're saying, just in a nice way?
No, a blind taste test. So I have to take a sip and guess which Breck Brew it is.
How
Wow.
confident are you in your abilities?
100% sure
Yeah.
that I'm going to get 100%.
It's
There
so
we go.
easy.
There we go. You better not mess up.
I know.
Expect a perfect report card tomorrow.
All right.
And one more thing really quick. We've got a lot of you watching live on YouTube right now. Hit us with a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. If you all do that, we're going to go through the roof. So we'd really appreciate
To the
it if
moon.
y'all just took a second to hit that thumbs up on our YouTube page. And thank you for tuning in live.
Absolutely.
Do you
okay.
guys want to see the YouTube poll on
Yes.
rivers?
Oh,
okay.
God.
So the poll was: do you prefer rivers, lakes, or oceans? 151 people responded.
Great. That means it was a really good
Yeah.
debate.
39% goes to lakes. 37 goes to ocean, and 25 goes to rivers.
Let's
what?
go, baby. This is
Leave-
a lake podcast.
Leave these rivers all alone just for me. I appreciate that. All you guys can go to your lakes, you can go to your oceans, do whatever the hell people do on still water, and I'll have the time of my life going on journeys down rivers.
It's because
Again.
it's because in this company, and understandably so, we have a coast bias. So people
No coast
just
bias.
being here, a coast bias. You can't
Oh,
like
or
the
bias
coast.
against
Yes,
the coast.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like the
I am.
opposite. Exactly. So people that come here aren't in favor naturally just of oceans there. So I'm proud of the 37% that felt comfortable speaking of.
Like most of my takes, it just boils down to, can you have it in Colorado? If you can, it's better. If you can't, it's worse.
That's the worst thing about Colorado is no oceans.
I take mountains over oceans.
I said it's the worst thing about Colorado is no oceans.
Yeah, oceans are just kind of overrated.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
So you don't like the beach?
Yeah,
I
it's such a
do. I
bad
do like
take.
the beach.
Such a bad take.
Yeah, the beach is incredible. That's where the whales are. No, I mean not on the beach, but in the water. You got whales, you got dolphins, you got
Let me
turtles.
just put it this way: if there's a beach down here, but then there's an infinity pool right above it, I'm just hanging at the pool.
But then you get the
What about at a lake?
What do you mean?
Are you going to the lake or are you going to the infinity pool?
I
Same
should not have
situation.
brought this back.
I'm
up.
going in the lake.
100. No,
No, you're
way.
not.
You're
Yeah.
such
No,
a
you're
liar.
not. That's just not
Lake
true.
water,
Yes. Oh my
refreshing. Feels good on the skin.
Ugh.
He's a liar. Henry.
You're connecting with nature.
There's no nature in the ocean.
It's just a different kind of nature.
Mountains
nature.
and
Nature that I
oceans
don't
is
wanna
ideal.
connect
What's the
with.
best lake animal?
Ooh,
Oh my god.
good
Okay.
question. Do moose count?
That's
Absolutely
not how that works.
not.
That's not how that works.
They spend a lot of time in and around lakes.
Yeah, and in mountains and in rivers too. If you get a moose, I get a moose.
Oh my god.
Fine.
No, but we don't though.
I'm
no.
not, again, you're trying to pit us against each other. Rivers and lakes are on the same team.
No, they're not. Lakes are just worse rivers.
Freshwater bodies of water.
Yeah,
They're
one
more
freshwater better
similar.
than the other.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
cousins.
Lake, a lake is just where a river's just chilling out for a minute.
Exactly. Give me the action. but again, like you
For me,
go
it's
to
all
the
about the-
ocean, there's crabs, there's lobsters, there's dolphins.
Good for eating.
Yeah, I mean Matthew
Yeah.
makes a
Not
good
dolphins.
Matthew
Wow,
makes
that
a
was
good
terrible.
point. Alligators in lakes.
Uh-huh.
Not in Colorado.
There's also river dolphins, now that I think of it.
Oh,
What?
that sounds badass.
Yeah, river dolphins.
Drake
How
here-
is there not a minor league team named the River Dolphins if that's a thing?
Drake
that's
says
a good
he's
question.
tempted to dislike solely on these takes. Don't dislike the
Wow.
show.
You have to
Dang,
agree with
Drake.
one of our takes.
Oh, there
Probably
we go.
those two.
Actually, I'll cut this right off if we get more thumbs up. Because the thumbs up just popped off since I asked for everyone to smash it.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
So hit us with a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it.
There we go. Anyways, so now that lakes reign superior, just like Lake Superior,
I'd take a stream over a lake.
Oh my god.
that's a terrible.
Give me a
take.
creek.
I take a babbling brook.
Oh, yeah, those are tough
To me,
beat
I think it just comes
regardless.
down to the vibes. Like the vibes of a lake are just perfect.
River vibes. Ocean vibes. Oh my goodness, those are great too. Compared to a lake vibe.
Yep, 100%.
The ocean vibes are just outside of the ocean itself. Like the ocean is like loud and
Action
dangerous.
and cool.
A lake just
Loud.
calm and chill.
Yeah, because people when they go to bed listen to lake sounds. That's a thing that you can put on your little machine.
That's a good point.
It's silent. That's better for music.
No, but that's not true because you have to have sound to fall asleep.
Ocean sounds
Yeah,
is
watch
awesome.
TV.
Okay.
Ocean sounds is the best.
All
Also
right,
rivers.
let's move
Well,
on.
we're going around the country. Should we just go around the NFL right now with
Let's do
this
it.
league?
Do we have the this league graphic? Oh, I love the this league graphic.
Beautiful.
Wow.
This graphic.
Beautiful.
This graphic.
Shout out, Kale.
Graphic
Yeah.
slaps.
Shout out, Kale. All right, boys. I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again. This league is all about whenever you think you're wrong. Anytime you think something about this league, it's wrong. You thought that the Bills were unstoppable.
They are.
They were they're just going to march to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They go to South Beach, they lose. Probably because they like lakes better than beaches.
Who did they lose to?
The Dolphins.
Who's the quarterback?
Tua.
Alabama quarterback.
Wow.
taking
Wait,
over the
I'm
league.
not done. I'm not
you're right, 'cause
done.
you
Wait,
haven't got
also
to a
the-
second Alabama quarterback.
Also, ocean down there. That is an ocean place. Like ocean wins that.
yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Miami,
What the
South
hell?
Beach?
I didn't. All I said was the Bills probably lost because they're lake people.
Yeah,
and
they went to the ocean.
They didn't want to go to the ocean, but they were forced to.
Does that make you a loser?
If I have to go to the ocean, maybe. But I get to
Wow.
stay here in Colorado. It's great. Anyways, you thought that the Chargers were legit. They got their doors blown off by the Jaguars. You thought there was one more that I was going to get
thought
here.
the
You thought the
Jaguars were
Chiefs
sick.
Yeah.
We were right.
were rolling easy. They lost to the mighty, mighty Colts. So just stop thinking. That's the trick here. Less thoughts, and then maybe you can predict the NFL.
Total lake person thing to say.
But what are you going off of then?
You don't have to think much when you're on a lake. It's pretty great.
No thoughts.
Just don't think.
Just don't think. How do you
Yep.
choose games though?
Just whatever happens.
What?
You just,
What awful advice.
you're better
machine.
off just flipping a coin
Time machine.
than thinking.
Wow, better off.
Wow.
Well, who's the coin say for Thursday night?
I don't have a coin.
Well, then how do we do your thing?
All right.
You didn't think this one
Screen
through.
side,
Oh, jeez.
Oh my god.
that's Dolphins.
Okay.
Sides Bengals.
Okay. Dolphins.
It's Bengals.
No, you got to flip it after.
Ah, yes.
No. Just watch.
Also,
Bengals.
so that Bills game, the Bills had, let's see, wait. I was looking at the wrong number. 382 passing yards. Dolphins had 171. Bills have 115 rushing yards. Dolphins, 41. Time of possession, 40 minutes to 19 minutes.
You thought
The
all of those numbers mattered. but
first
you thought
downs,
too much.
31 to 15. Total plays, 90 to 39.
That is absolutely.
How do you
insane.
lose that game?
That is insane.
All right, we've got
One
the
turnover in the entire game.
Chicago Army ROTC Fire Battalion
Shout out to
Big
Caitlin.
fan of that group.
with
personally.
the tagline "Fire on, sir."
Very nice.
Classic tagline.
I thought this was a Rapids household.
I don't think that's what that has anything to do with this. And this is
Yeah, I don't think so.
this side
I'd
is
be
the
cool with
University of
disrespecting
Illinois at Chicago side.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
This side again.
It's the only
Bengals.
coin I could get
Okay.
last
This side.
second.
Okay. So color side.
Dolphins.
No, they both have color on them.
Yep, color side is Bengals.
Oh, the other side doesn't.
This is just black.
Black. Gotcha.
Are we flipping
okay.
it after?
Yes, I will flip it now because it's a coin. That's what you do with coins, not with flipping phones.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, I did not know the rules to flipping phones.
Bengals both.
Bengals again.
Wow.
That's just not where the juice is. Coins
No.
got to take in to account where the juice is.
You think it too much.
Well,
Follow the
in
coin.
this league, guys, I'm gonna need some help here. Who are the 3 best tight ends in the NFL? Not necessarily like right now, but like when you think of the NFL this year, you would say who are they?
Kittle,
Travis
Kelsey, Waller.
Kelce.
Who?
Kittle, Kelsey, Waller.
Kittle, Kelsey, and Waller. Not in this league.
They suck.
Because in this league, guys, Travis Kelce in this league had to go to Twitter after the game and formally apologize to Chiefs Kingdom for losing the game, losing the top spot in the AFC West. Now they're just tied with the Broncos. They could have been 3-0. We could have been talking about them as, yep, Chiefs aren't losing until they lose. We're never going to pick them to lose. But no, Travis Kelce drops the ball, causes them to lose the game. George Kittle, he ate the Broncos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's just what he's used to. And a couple years ago, he ate them for a snack and dessert, too, in the first half.
Speaking of eating, on that trip was the first time I had dim sum.
Oh, there you go. He ate everything against the Broncos that time. Not this time. George Kittle looked like a Skittle out there. 28 receiving yards for George Kittle against the Broncos.
Would you say you thought those were the 3 best tight ends in the league?
Not in this league.
We might need to change the segment to you thought.
And one more guy. If Travis Kelce had to go to Twitter to formally apologize, Darren Waller should have knocked on every single Raiders fan's door to apologize. Not only did he have that drop that you talked about in the end zone, which turned into an interception. Yep. I mean, talk about a huge swing in the game. Raiders probably get to 1-2. We're probably all picking the Raiders as third best in the division instead of last. No, Darren Waller not just drops that, I think has 2 more drops in this league right now. The Raiders are not, or these tight ends are not the 3 best tight ends as of right now. In this league, the Broncos have an opportunity. They just shut down George Kittle. They have an opportunity to shut down Darren Waller and change the narrative that they can now cover tight ends and make it a new league for the Broncos.
Love that. You know, George Kittle's a little bit safe from this. He's banged up right now, so he might end up being there. But you know what Travis Kelce and Darren Waller both have in common?
Old?
North of 30. And I think this is one of the big reasons why you're not seeing tight ends get paid in the same way that you see wide receivers get paid, because while they might be just as valuable of a weapon when they're in their prime lasts less. And I think you're seeing Kelce and Waller both decline a little bit. Now, they're both still great receiving options, and they're going to make plays and all that stuff. But Kelce has been on a pretty steady decline, even if the numbers might not back it up. You're just seeing him drop passes more. He's getting stripped a lot. He's missing blocks, so just keep an eye on it.
But Ryan, you've had that take about Kelce for a while, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, we're talking about 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. We're talking about in those 6 seasons, he's had over 83 catches every
Why are we talking about
year.
6 seasons, though? 6 seasons ago, he was young.
No, in the past 6 every single season in the past 6.
On pace for 1,300 this year.
Yeah, I was going to say this year. 8,
that's what I said. The numbers aren't going to back it up. But
the numbers for a receiver are what matter, Ryan.
It's just, you have to watch the games.
8 catches on 9 targets in week 1, 5 catches on 7 targets in week 2. And if you want to say that he's having a full decline based off 1 week, welcome to this league. Because he's 4 catches on 8 targets this past week, including a touchdown.
It's not about that offense he's always going to produce in. It's just about the little things, dropping passes, getting stripped. Just keep an eye on it.
I've been keeping an eye on it for a couple of years when you've been warning me about this.
Then you would know.
It feels like...
It's not a couple of years. It just feels like that because we do a show every day. I started talking about this in week 13 of last year.
And it just feels like the Tom Brady thing. I literally had a friend probably 9 years ago that was like, he's done after this year. And every year it's like, I'm just going to say one more time because eventually I'm going to be right. This year's got to be Tom. I mean, speaking of this league, guys, this is Tom's last year, right? Unless...
It's him or it's the game or Giselle.
I mean,
it has
the
to
thing is, if she leaves him though,
or his
then
health.
why wouldn't he just play again after if she's not even there?
Yeah.
Well, because then he would choose football over her.
But if she leaves during the season,
Yeah.
and his options are football or nothing at that point,
There you go.
why not football?
Yeah, he probably would.
He probably would.
You also
got
gotta
to
remember the kids.
Francisco.
Yeah. I
Also,
think he's more worried about her.
One of the best predictions in
Did like to kiss
DNVR Bets history was last week, and we compared where Aaron Rodgers and Shailene were at versus where Tom and Giselle were at, and just picked the Packers based off of relationship string.
Oh, wow. But Are Shailene and Aaron are done, right?
No, they're back together.
They're back.
Yeah.
Wow, they've had a couple of. They've gone through some things.
Yep. They're like a winding river.
Wow.
Wow, I love them.
All right, Henry. What do you got for us?
Let's talk about the Jaguars again. Just when you thought
Don't
the
know who that
Jaguars
is.
are gonna suck.
You mean the Jaguars?
Jaguars. I can't. I'm just gonna say how the Jags. The
There you
Jags.
go.
They're so freaking sick. That defense is incredible. They have so much speed. They have edge rushers. Again, like they were bad before, and people wrote them off. But no, actually, they're really good. And this league,
Who would have thought?
That's all
the
you-
Jaguars.
Trevor Lawrence did the unthinkable and is doing the unthinkable. He is making the Jacksonville Jaguars must-watch TV. Interesting.
Yeah.
And he is reviving them, which is like in the draft and for like years leading up to it was like if there's any person that's going to revive the Jags
Yeah.
and actually make them relevant for once and maybe ever, it's going to be him. Last year, Urban Meyer did his best to not let that happen, and
Yeah,
Trev's the truth.
he's gonna be an easy top 10 quarterback by the end of the year.
You want to hear something disgusting? In my fantasy league today, someone offered me a trade.
Ooh.
They were offering me Christian McCaffrey in exchange for Trevor Lawrence and Deebo Samuel. And mind you, this is a Superflex Dynasty league. One of the most disrespectful offers I've ever seen. In my
Wow,
life.
that is disrespectful.
Yeah. They tried to get you with the name.
I know. And the Colorado connection. Smart.
Yeah, that
Not
is
smart
smart
enough.
Christian, man, he showed up on the injury report twice in the first 3 weeks of the season.
He's always going to be on there for
Yep.
the rest of his career. It
Yeah.
sucks. It's just the life of a running back.
Yep.
Yep.
It does. It does. And we're going to have an interesting conversation potentially in a few years. Do you pay Javonte Williams or not?
We are going to have that conversation.
I guess we hope to be having that conversation.
That is true.
Do you pay Javonte Williams a lot? Because that means that he will have played really good.
And
If
the
you're
thing
smart, that you just draft the next Javonte Williams next year, and he's ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah. The
Yep.
thing about running backs, though, is everybody wants to say they're not important, but that's not the thing. Running backs are incredibly important. Like, you have Patrick Mahomes trying to, like, direct traffic with Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he had no idea where to go during that last game. The thing is, you just can't pay them.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't even matter whether they're important or not. Like, you just have to... You're just going
Well,
to screw yourself over if you
they're-
actually
and-
pay a running back.
And the reason is because their shelf life is really short.
And it just disappears one day.
Yes.
Like, there's no, like, steady decline. It's just like, oh, nope, you suck now.
I mean, look at Zeke and Christian McCaffrey, two guys
Yeah.
that got paid, and then right after they got paid, their bodies just fell apart on
Terrible.
them. I mean, Tony Pollard is the best running back on the Cowboys, and you saw it last night. Saquon Barkley, he's not even getting a deal from the Giants. He's going to be a free agent next year just because they said we see what happens, and we see what happens to what we've seen what happened to you already, and we just can't give you that investment. And remember, yeah, and Ben's bringing it up, what happened to Phillip Lindsay? There was a lot of conversations. The Broncos could have paid him after that second year, hooked him up on what would have been a team-friendly deal. We thought they could have given him $4 million, $5 million a year. That would have been really bad now with just how far he fell
Yep.
off.
Yep. You just keep cycling them in.
Yep.
And honestly, the Broncos shouldn't have even have paid Melvin Gordon. They should have just drafted a running back this year to be Javonte's backup.
Yeah. I mean, especially when they paid him $8 million, and
Right.
that made him like a top 5 paid running back.
Yeah. So I mean, it's probably, in my opinion, the second easiest position to hit on in the draft after wide receiver. You can maybe make a case for some defensive positions, but you just have to be smart, and you have to. It's really hard for the fans to understand it, and I think that's the thing that you have to realize is like Javonte Williams is going to be a fan favorite, and it's going to be hard for anyone to say don't sign him. But the GMs who just say sorry and don't do it end up looking the smartest.
Right, exactly. And there's one unicorn in the NFL when it comes to running backs who's different, and that is Derrick Henry. Henry, you tried just in this league.
Yep.
When you try to bury Derrick Henry, he just flips you off and says, no way. I think he had multiple touchdowns,
Yep.
at least one touchdown. I believe like 150 yards from scrimmage.
Yep. And
He's
going back
a beast.
and watching that game, he looked better Like, he looked good.
Yeah.
Like, he was moving well. It wasn't just... I chalked it up to the Raiders' defense sucks, and I think I'm going to stick with that. I'm not back on, like, oh, Derrick Henry, yep, he's good to go. I'm still saying, like, no, he's done.
He still barely averaged 4 yards a carry.
Yep.
Look at
But...
that productivity, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. But he did look better than I thought he would look when I turned that game on.
The 5 catches for 58 yards is far more impressive than the 20 carries for 85 yards.
Yeah. How many touchdowns?
1 touchdown on the ground, just 1.
Just 1. Okay.
Unless he
Yep.
threw
I'll
one or
take
something.
130 yards and a touchdown. Yep. I'll take
And
it.
just looking through running backs on second contracts, you got Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Zeke, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Saquon. That's basically the whole list of guys who came back to their first
Saquon's
team.
not on a second contract, I don't think.
Oh,
No,
no,
he's not.
he
I think he's
isn't.
5th year right now.
That's just a
And-
big rookie contract.
And
yeah.
one of the names you mentioned, which people are pointing out in the comment section, Nick Chubb, so far
Yep.
looks good.
Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, they're right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick Chubb is sick.
Yeah.
But again,
He
it's essentially like
Kamara.
the top 3, you know, like
Yep.
It's 50-50 with those running backs.
yeah, for sure. All right. Shall we by the way, speaking of that Raiders defense being bad, that's the most exciting thing about this week.
And they're down 2 corners. The 2 best corners.
Jeez.
Yeah, get right week for us.
Should be.
And we're
Definitely should
really
be.
going to dive in that to tomorrow. If you're going to be in Las Vegas, though, you may want to check out Game Time in order to go to the game. How do you find Game Time? Well, just look at our description on YouTube. We've got the Game Time link in there. Also, if you're watching on or if you're listening in podcast, we also have the link in our description on the podcast. Click on that link and it pulls up an awesome interface. And this interface is so cool. We've got the Denver Broncos tickets up here for the home games, but you can find all of the events if you're going to be out in Vegas, just a short flight from Denver if you're going. You can find the best deals, and I just love the interface that Game Time has. You get to see exactly where the seats are, what it's going to look like, and they get you the best price, especially if you're looking just a couple of days out from the game or next week for the Colts game. They're going to have the best prices for you over at Game Time.
Yeah, and what's cool is they have a price guarantee, whereas if you find a better price in the same section, same row on another platform, they will give you 110%. So they'll essentially pay you
Yep.
to beat their prices. That's how confident
Yeah.
they are that you won't be able to do it.
I love it. And also the flash deals that they've got going on, some for next or for the next Raiders game at home in November 20th. Got some good deals there.
Boom.
And don't forget to click the link because it really helps us out if you go and click the link on our descriptions rather than just going to Game Time.
And make sure you get out to Infinity Park to watch the American Raptors. That's Colorado's rugby team. They rebranded again. They're the American Raptors. They're 5-5 in their first season, which is pretty good for their first season of really existing. And they're going to be back at it here soon. If you go to AmericanRaptors.com, you can get yourself some free tickets. It's an awesome deal that they've got going. You can also watch the games there, but make sure, regardless, that you are following along with Colton Strickler's content at DNVR Rugby.
Boom. There you go. All right, let's jump into Super Chats first, and let's see what we got, Al. Got a few today. Good job, guys. Jay Linton says, McDaniels is the used car salesman of the NFL. Oh, used car of the NFL. Looks good, but breaks down over time. You go broke from repairs, and Belichick repossesses it after a couple years.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, it looks like he may get another shot in the NFL if it doesn't work out in Las Vegas, and it would be right there in New England.
Yep.
Yeah.
With Brian Hoyer.
Yep. Mr. Orange says, at Gregory, I got 5 on it. Let's go, Broncos.
Let's go, Mr. Orange.
Let's
Mr.
go.
Orange.
Danny says, can't wait to watch the Broncos defense destroy McDaniels this weekend. Pumped to go see it in person. Hashtag Montana. Hashtag let's ride.
Hashtag Montana.
Hashtag Montana. Great lakes in Montana.
Yes, the best legs.
Brendan Trujillo says Russ's numbers this year and Rodgers' number in his first year are super similar. We just have to be patient with this offense. Yeah, was that you, Henry, who brought that up yesterday
Yep.
about how LaFleur's first year in Green Bay was potentially Rodgers' worst year of his career? Again,
Yep.
I'm still not even ready to say Russ is going to have a down year. But it's one of those things where you're seeing a similar system, And it's the first time for Russ in this system. In fact, it's the first system change for Russ in a very long time, at least in terms of a full-on system change.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think any of us have ever hit the panic button yet on this. I need to see, until I'm truly hitting the panic button, is mid-season. If we're not seeing improvement and things starting to click mid-season, then I'm going, shoot, maybe Russ is in decline. Maybe Seattle was right. But we're still 5-6 games away from that.
Yeah, and even, we talked about the big play to Kendall Hinton. There's also a scramble for a first down, but we didn't even talk about the one to Melvin Gordon, which was like maybe the most vintage Russ. Squeezes through there, sees Melvin out of the corner of his eye, basically throws like a basketball chest pass to him over there.
That wasn't really a Russ play. No, it was definitely making something out of nothing. That was more like Mahomes just doing something where you're like, whoa, what was that? Because a Russ play is getting out of the pocket and really using his feet. This was a great play. I just said it was a Patrick Mahomes-like play.
Yeah. I mean, either way. But, it's just that creating something out of nothing is what you want to see from Russ. That's the number one thing that has made him who he is to this point, and he did it a lot more the other night. And I think as the season goes on, you're going to see it, and as the games get bigger and all that stuff, you're going to see it more and more.
And the other side of that is that there have been plenty of plays where he turned something into nothing just by missing throws or not making the right read or getting out of the pocket a little bit early, and that part of it's gone a little bit too. But things will not get worse from Russell Wilson. I'm confident saying that, and there's a lot of reasons to think they'll get better.
Scale of 1 to 10, how much is the loss of Tim Patrick impacting the Broncos offense?
It's massive. I mean, Kendall Hinton was out there for 27 plays and got targeted once. KJ Hamler didn't get targeted at all in his 11 snaps. Like, you're at least getting something out of Tim Patrick.
Can't get a target.
Yeah.
I hate that, though. You didn't lose Tim Patrick one day before the start of the season. You lost Tim Patrick on the third practice of training camp. You had a whole training camp to make up for him. And let's not pretend...
But you can't make up for talent.
Let's not pretend, though, that the Broncos don't have talent at the wide receiver position. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Yes. Those two.
You give an elite quarterback those two guys... They should be able to make good play out of, I don't care if it's a bad tight end room, if it's just bad depth. The Broncos have, for depth at wide receiver, they had good depth. That's what we talked about. Now, we're not talking about, of course, guys that are, third wide receivers on every team who they have as their sixth guy. The Broncos, and I've seen this a lot, and the Broncos don't need to go out and make a big trade for a wide receiver or hope that OBJ is OBJ once again in order for this offense to get cooking. They have enough talent at wide receiver where I don't like that excuse. Does Tim Patrick hurt? Yes, he does. But if you have to have three great wide receivers, then you don't have the right system. You don't have the right quarterback in place.
It's not that you have to have three great wide receivers. The big problem for the Broncos right now is the drop-off after Jerry Jeudy is a cliff. Just an absolute cliff.
But you were supposed to... That was the story, was the Broncos had good depth.
But that's the thing, is we thought so. Kendall Hinton shouldn't be out there on an NFL field. KJ Hamler is probably right there with...
We thought so. He's done nothing to prove you wrong about that.
I mean, he did, like I said, 27 snaps, couldn't even get...
He looked, like, okay, he had some moments last year. He's going to be better. KJ Hamler was, the big kind of, if he's healthy, he's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
Albert O was supposed to take a step forward. None of those things happened.
I think most disappointing out of anybody has been Jerry Jeudy. I mean, you've gotten almost nothing out of him. Like, I think that Jerry Judy's a wide receiver one.
The thing is
with one big play. That is true,
I was going to say, as soon as Jerry Jeudy has a rib injury, which, potentially impacted him the other night, then you have nothing.
But, I mean, how deep are you supposed to be here? You have Cortland Sutton, a $15 million wide receiver.
Three good wide receivers.
Right now you have one.
You're not... I don't agree, because you have a $15 million wide receiver. You have a first-round wide receiver. KJ Hamler, a second-round wide receiver.
But that's just looking at the rounds, not the players.
Those players are not what we thought they were. I'm ready to say that.
Who is
Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler.
It's too early for me.
So you're ready to write those all of them off?
Not write them all off, but I think I'm ready to say Jerry Judy's not a wide receiver one in the NFL, and I don't think he's going to get there. So I think he can be a wide receiver two, but he needs to even prove something there. Kendall Hinton, KJ Hamler, they're not wide receiver threes.
This probably could have been a whole segment.
Probably.
Yeah.
The thing for me is just the drop off, and Jerry is still trying to prove it. I'm not ready to write off Jerry. KJ, the thing for me is like he's only available for a short period of time, and even during that right now, he's not doing anything. So anything from him, as I've said for a while now, is a bonus at this point. But that's how it would have been. It would have been fine for KJ to be a bonus when you had Tim. Now, once you take Tim out of it, you're just expecting everyone to be what you hoped they could be, and there's not one player there who's doing it.
You had
other than Cortland.
Only Cortland.
You had a massive luxury having all three of those guys, and we even talked about it. Was it worth it paying two of those guys when you also had Jerry Jeudy, when you had these depth pieces? And I think that was a fair conversation. That the massive luxury just turned into, it's still a luxury having two potential really good wide receivers, and you got to be able to work with those other guys. I do not think that the Broncos should be going out and making a big trade, making a big signing. They should be able to get by with what they have.
If you remember the first podcast, though, after the Tim Patrick injury, what we said is, now you're banking on Cortland being himself again.
Yep.
Thank God that happened. You're counting on Jerry Jeudy to take that step forward.
Yep.
That has not happened.
I'm not willing to write him off, though.
No, but I'm just saying, two right now to this point, 2 out of 3 games, you haven't been able to count on him.
That's not really true, though, because
One, he was hurt for sure.
he was hurt, and then last week he was, his ribs, he
I know.
was questionable. So the game when you could count on him as a player, he had 102 yards, was your
That's
leading
true.
receiver.
But the point is, when you don't have that, now you have nothing.
Okay, but you could do that for every position with every team. Okay, if you're going to lose your top 2 guys, then you're going to have
and they did.
an
But the
issue
question
there.
is, how much
And they did.
is the loss of Tim Patrick impacted the offense to this point? And to me, the answer is it has a lot because of the situation.
How many points are the Broncos averaging?
I'll say they're 3-0. I don't know about averaging points, but I think that having Tim in that first week could have been enough to score 3 more points.
So in 3 games, Tim Patrick is worth 1 win. That's wild. I'm not going to say that about a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver 2 if you want to give that to him.
And I think, I don't know. We'll see. The other thing about him is he was just so reliable.
Yeah.
And right now you have one reliable offensive weapon, or at least receiving weapon, and that's Cortland.
Yep.
He dropped a big pass on Sunday.
But that doesn't make him unreliable. Everyone's going to drop passes. I just mean
Not
you
Tim.
can count
Not
on
Tim.
I know, but I'm just saying you can count on him to get himself open in a big play and make big plays for you.
Yep. And you just need Jerry to become a threat because he hasn't been for 2 weeks now.
And again,
'Cause
I'll
he's been injured.
give him
Yeah,
the injury
fair.
pass for now.
Fair.
But I'm just saying, because of that, you have nothing behind him. So you lost all of your depth. You were hoping for Jerry to be his best. He was great in week 1, and then he gets dinged up, and now it's what I'm talking about with that cliff. Below them, there's just nothing. There's no one getting any separation, making any sort of plays.
But great quarterbacks, and this is not a ding against Russ. I'm saying this is what we need to see moving forward because I understand new system and everything, and I am giving Russ a big pass for that right now because I think it's legitimate. We need to see Russ elevate these guys from being 4th wide receivers to being 3rd wide receivers. I'm not saying he needs to elevate Kendall Hinton into being a number 1 receiver, but he needs to elevate him from being a number 4, number 5 to serviceable as number 3, and that's what great quarterbacks do.
There's just only so much you can do when those guys aren't getting open.
But you still have 1 and 2. You still have a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2 with these guys. I'm not asking Kendall Hinton to be a 1. I'm not asking Montrell Washington to be a 1.
But
And the
you
thing
did
is, you
also
just
say
haven't had the
you
2
haven't
the
had the
last 2
2.
weeks.
Yes.
Then you got to elevate. You got to try to have two guys go from 4 to 3.
All right, we have to move on. This is good though. Next super chat. Drake says, here is for another shot for RK since he's obviously been drinking. Thumbs up and pinky up for the pod. Definitely have not been drinking.
Love it.
Drinking on the pot
Drinking
again.
after.
Wow.
I am going to have 1 sip of 5 beers.
There
Okay.
we go. And of course, we got to give another shout out to our guy Gregory.
Gregory.
Thank you so much, Gregory.
Legend. Last one's from Naj. Says, hey, brothers, great setup, brothers. Love checking out the bar this weekend. It was nice meeting some of you as well. Love the show. Go Broncos. It was great meeting you, Naj. And, man, that's by far the best part of the tailgates. And just the bus and the bar and all that stuff is getting to meet all of you guys when you come in. It's also really cool how many Broncos fans come in from out of town. It's every single week there's a whole new crop from a whole new list of places.
And speaking of Burrito Brad, Nacho Brad stopped by the bar, a true OG of the show. So shout out to Burrito Brad.
Yes, sir. All right. We are done with Super Chats. Good job.
All right, let's get into the comments on the website. First one coming in from Broncholic says, "Hey guys, let's ride. What a win. And what do you know? We finally run the ball with Beckett fullback in the red zone and get a touchdown. Told ya." Was happy for head coach Nathaniel Hackett. After 2 weeks of being the butt of everyone's joke, he stepped up and managed the game great. Though both challenges were completely warranted too. So love the call there. Play calling could have been better, but when it mattered, we got it done. Something I don't understand though, why was Melvin in the game so much in the second half? He's off to a blistering pace of fumbles per game this season. Get him off the field and feed Javonte. Go Broncos.
It's a great question. I will say it felt like he at least got off to a better start than Javonte in that game. And so maybe that led to, the coaching staff feeling like they could go to him when they needed a few yards. But I just don't know what to do with Melvin. You're essentially just taking the risk that you're going to lose a game because of Melvin Gordon at some point. And you could make the case that you already have, although, there's a debate as to whether that was his fault or, that whole thing because it was fourth down and he was trying to make a play. But every time you roll him out there, you're just taking that risk. And I don't know what to do about it because he is still really good at running the ball.
Well, something that irks me a ton is we're told this by every new coaching staff. We're going to ride the hot hand. We were told that by Nathaniel Hackett. He told that to us just a couple of months ago that when it came to the Broncos, how they're going to do their running backs is ride the hot hand. The hot hand was Javonte Williams. He had a great game running the ball. And Melvin Gordon, didn't he end with like 2 yards per carry on the day?
2.2.
2.2. And what was Javonte at?
3.8 maybe.
Okay, 3.8. But I think he started a lot better than that. And Javonte was the hot hand. And in factoring hot hands, you have to factor in the cold parts that get thrown in. And Melvin had 2 of those fumbles in the game. So they're not doing that. They're not riding the hot hand. And that's frustrating.
Javonte's 3.9 versus 2.2.
Yeah, so almost double.
Yep. And the worst part of the hot hand thing is Javonte, on his best drive, they took him out.
Yeah.
In the middle of, I think he went 10 and then 9 back-to-back carries, or 16 and then 9 back-to-back carries. And then there was like a timeout on the field for an injury or something, and they came back out into the huddle, and it was Melvin. I was like, you can never claim hot hand again if you haven't run the ball well at all tonight. You just took Javonte out after his 2 best carries.
And it just really does seem like they are managing egos and trying to make it fair for these guys. The NFL is not fair. The NFL is not. Don't make it fair, Nathaniel Hackett and Justin Allen. Don't try to. Just go with the best player. And now I understand that in order to make Javonte the best he needs to be, you got to get the ball to Melvin at times to give Javonte a breather. And Melvin Gordon's a good running back. But you can't tell me you're going hot hand and then just be doing what's fair.
Yeah. All I know is, I don't want this to happen to him, but at this rate, they're going to lose a game because of a Melvin Gordon fumble, and it is going to be uglier than it's ever been.
I mean, he's on pace for 17 fumbles this year.
Yeah.
That's just how bad the first 3 weeks have been. He needs to change that soon.
It is. I mean, right now the snaps are 60-40 for Javonte. So,
which is essentially what a lot of people thought was going to happen.
Yeah. So do you bump that up to, I think, 70-30 now?
No, I think that you give more Mike Boone.
Or
if you want to spell Javonte,
or the opportunities, you have Melvin in there because Russ trusts Melvin more as a pass protector. So Melvin can be in there 40-50% of the plays, but it's going to be more doing the dirty work. And because the carries have been closer, I believe.
Touches are 55-45.
What about just carries?
Carries are 37-34.
Yep.
But again, that's only part of it because they're factoring in Javonte's their better receiving back.
Yep.
Yikes. It's just a bad situation. We did get one more super chat here from Jacob who says, you know what people do on moving water like rivers? Drown.
As I've said, I think I'm probably going to wind up dead in a river.
Wow.
Which is dark, but I mean, it's the thing that I've kind of felt for a while.
So we gotta be watching Hank when we're in London. We gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Make sure he doesn't have too many drinks.
Lexi says you shouldn't be going in rivers.
Oh wow.
And it's it's not that. It's just that I just really like rivers.
He died doing what he loved.
Exactly. It's like percentages. You spend a lot of time in a river.
Look at this.
Oh, dang. We draw.
Our T-shirts are here.
Boom,
Look at that.
Wow, it looks
New-
awesome.
Find that at the DNVR locker.
shirt. You got the helicopter on there, 8-bit style.
Beautiful.
This is fresh.
I love it.
Smells even like it's fresh off the presses. That is dope. Thanks, Mitch.
It's very dope.
All right, next one coming in from Ozzy. Dan says, "Good day, boys. Missed this comment last week, so I decided to repost. First,
Yes.
RK, an honor to meet you and Allie at the bar last weekend before the Texans game. The place and food lived up to expectations. While the game against Houston was sloppy and frustrating, walking out of that stadium with my family with the win has completed this holiday for me. My two boys were disappointed that they didn't get to meet Zach. So, Zach, any chance we can catch up at the Raiders game this week? Man, that's so cool. He's going to the Raiders game,
Yep.
too. He says, we have tickets for this game and are super excited. Anything that DNVR organizes in Vegas? Also, a massive shout out to PS2. Signed stuff and took photos for an hour after the game after injuring his shoulder against the Texans. My boys got a selfie with him. They couldn't be more excited. Go Broncos, Ozzy Dan."
Yeah, as exciting as the London news was yesterday, the sad news is that we are not doing the Vegas trip. It just kind of snuck up on us really quick after we were dealing with the bar and all that stuff. So we got a little behind on it and unfortunately weren't able to kind of make it come together in the way that we wanted to. Nashville's still on the slate, though. Obviously, London's still on the slate, but we are bummed about missing out on Vegas this weekend.
So, Ozzy, Dan, go from Australia to London for the game.
I realized the last time that I was in Vegas was in 2015.
Wow.
And
That's
I love
terrible.
Vegas. I feel like I'm cursed. Like something just doesn't want me to go to Vegas.
It was really nice to meet you.
Great to meet you, Ozzy Dan.
The Count says, "The sounds of autumn. You don't roll the hose up or cut the grass one last time. In fact, you don't do anything but sit on the stoop and watch the bees and feel nervous about the pass rush week after week. You wonder why, if Tim Jenkins is so dang smart, he doesn't drive a vintage orange Vespa with a sidecar." And
So
then
true.
it hits you. The blue Bill Romanowski jersey you thought you lost in the move from Albuquerque was more likely taken in a rage by
No.
that woman who spit in your face after you told her that Jack Del Rio would never be the answer. Not to anybody.
Wow.
Yep, that must be it. Love, The Count.
I need to frame this.
I have no idea what just happened.
It's a poem, Ryan.
I know I don't understand the point of the poem,
I was always so bad at poems.
but I'm in on anything that's anti-Jack Del Rio.
Oh, this is.
Corey Jones, 1976 says, "Hi, guys. You mentioned this last win reminded you of the Dan Reeves coach Broncos. I've seen every game since 1986. The last game calls me back to home wins where John Elway would stink for 3 quarters, just run for his life on one game-winning drive. Let's hope this year's team doesn't get blown out like those teams did. The late 80s were all close, ugly wins, 1 or 2 blown-out losses, and a rare dominant win. Could you imagine if there was a DNVR podcast back then? Here's how I picture the 80s with a DNVR podcast. First, riots break loose when Zach points out that Elway stupidly threw 3 interceptions, all into triple coverage. Second, when Henry mentions the boring game plan, the drunk rioters come for the week as the parents hide the children and run. Wow. Third, the shut-in melodramatic podcast listeners faint halfway through the post-game pod as RK complains about the officials. Fourth, Henry tries to put a positive spin on things while disgruntled hooligans hear it and break from the riots to steal a real bucking bronco and let it loose in the nearest chandelier mega mall. And finally, during the comment section, the sky literally falls and the plagues of the Bible manifest all over Lodo. Oh, and yes, that was after an ugly win. LOA, football fans are hilarious today. But back then, kind of scary.
Thank God we didn't have a podcast back then. This sounds horrible.
It really does.
I mean, going to a Raiders game back in the day in Oakland literally sounds scary.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Yeah, it
earlier
is.
this week about like the Dan Reeves thing with Elway. I wonder. So obviously there's a lot of people who love Tebow for a lot of like obvious reasons, but also did the fact that John Elway was the way he was make Broncos fans more likely to accept Tebow because he did so many similar things with like the comebacks and stuff at the end, and that was just like the multiplier.
Yes.
to all Tebow stuff.
I think yes. I think it played a role.
Okay.
And I also think Peyton Manning being the most recent quarterback to right now works against Russ. Mm-hmm. Because everything Peyton did was so fine and meticulous and perfect.
I love him.
And there's a lot of Broncos fans who come from that time. Or at least that's their golden era.
Although I do think that any fan base would have accepted that Tebow season and just kind of how Broncos fans did. I actually don't think that there was much Elway to Tebow. I think what we could see is Russ to Elway, especially this last week specifically. Now, I don't think we're going to see that because I don't think Russ is going to be held back and that incapable for 3/4 of so many games. Tebow it's just his own thing.
Yeah, but I guarantee you there were people back then saying, this is just like Elway when he was first getting started.
So different though, because I was the biggest Tebow believer, and it's not like you looked at him and you're like, he's gonna come out and he's gonna lead us with his arm. He was doing it different ways than Elway.
Yeah, but there was a belief out there that he could learn to throw.
There sure was.
But that's very different than John Elway. When John Elway was doing that, you weren't like, I hope this guy's gonna learn to throw sometime. You knew he could throw.
Yes,
I'm sure people were drawing the parallel with the late game comebacks.
At that time, nobody had ever thrown a football the way John Elway did. Like right now, you're like, oh, is Josh Allen the best thrower ever? It's like at that time, it was like, yeah, John Elway is. There was nobody to compare it to even.
Man,
very different than Tebow.
I love the Tebow year. I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it was great, and I was young enough to definitely believe that he was going to be able to figure it out throwing the ball.
My dog named Tebow died this summer. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
R.I.P. to a legend. Not Tim
legend.
Tebow the quarterback, but Tebow the
very
dog.
alive. Tim Tebow, everywhere, hated.
Next one from Melbourne Broncos says, "You're grading the offense seems a little harsh." And he's talking to you, Henry.
Ooh.
I thought Reisner and Glasgow had good games, B- at worst. Were Minor's first games any better? And he's expected to get his starting position back right away. And what were Ronald Darby's stats? Seems he's doing good under the radar and doing a great job. Cheers. A lot of people coming after you on Twitter for your Garrett Bowles grade.
Oh, that's how that goes. My favorite, though, was when one guy said, I think that you overrated Bowles, and somebody else responded and said, no, he was way too harsh on Bowles. And I was like, yeah, there we go. Maybe
Seems
this
like
isn't
you
bad.
got it right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the nature of grading things is that everybody thinks you're wrong. Let's see. So Glasgow, solid. And to me, like the C plus B minus is like average. And it's kind of like a little above, a little below. He got, I think, like a C, a straight up C. There just wasn't. First of all, there was one hole, I think, on like a 15-yard run that he opened himself. There were also a couple times where, like the zone blocking, you double team, then get up to the next level, where he was just lost at the next level. And that's kind of a trend with him is that he doesn't always find something to do. And because of that, over the course of the game, that did kind of catch up with him. In terms of pressures, I don't remember any, but I'd imagine there was one. Reisner made a couple more mistakes on blocks, and so that's why he got the C minus. Was Miners better? Miners was incredible. He played 18 snaps in that first game.
Which you have to take into account.
Totally. But in those 18 snaps, he was unbelievable.
Mowing
like
people
unbelievable.
down.
I mean, Pro Football Focus, not that we trust their grades, because my thing with Pro Football Focus is every week they're going to get 3 grades just totally wrong, and you're just like, wait, what? But he is still by far the best Bronco they've graded, and I think that they're right because he was just a monster. Again, small sample size, but yeah, he's a starter when he gets back.
Henry, we're going to the UK soon. You're going to have to learn how to say Glasgow, not Glasgow.
God damn. I'll do my best.
All right, next one.
Next one from Bronco and SD says, petition to trade Melvin Gordon for wide receiver depth. Please sign your name below.
No one did it. Dan Burke says, hey guys, so 49ers reporters were sitting with Vic Fangio during the 49ers game, and apparently Vic said that Pat Surtain is the best DB he's ever coached. Now, that sounds like a huge compliment, but I'm trying to think of some prolific DBs that Vic coached as a DC, and I can't really think of anyone. Kyle Fuller in his all-pro season in 2018 comes to mind, but other than that, no one's really jumping out to me. What do y'all think?
Well, what I think is Vic Fangio views Kyle Fuller extremely high. He thinks he is really good, better than everyone else does. So I think you're trying to kind of diminish what Vic said, where I actually think that that's a pretty big compliment. Other guys that I can't think, he also loved Bryce Callahan, and I feel like he's trying to diminish what Vic said, and I think if Vic Fangio, who knows defense incredibly well, says that, that's a massive compliment.
I think he's not necessarily trying to diminish it, just trying to be like, is there anyone
who does that make
we
him better
should be
than?
mentioning, as is just a great player here? Let's see. With the Ravens from 2006 to 2008, who's on? I mean,
Ed Reed.
Ed Reed is on that team.
Yeah.
There's no way he thinks Pat Surtain is better than Ed Reed.
Did you guys see the comments from Vic? Because he said in this comment, he said best DB he's ever coached.
It was a guy who, it wasn't like a
cornerback.
quote. It was a
Right.
guy who
Yeah.
just tweeted, like, I'm sitting with Vic Fangio right now, and he just said Pat Surtain's the best DB he's ever coached. So, I mean, Ed Reed's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Is Vic going? Well, I don't think that's crazy.
I don't either. No, I don't either.
Because I think it's very fine now to put Champ Bailey or to put Pat Surtain in Champ Bailey conversations. I think it's very fair.
What's crazy is I think if you ask both Tom Brady and Peyton Manning what DB they would want to face least, they would say Ed Reed.
Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Peyton broke down a play where Ed Reed just absolutely fooled him.
Yep.
Remember Dante Robinson?
Yes.
I just hadn't thought about him forever. He's right up there on the list of cornerbacks, though. There aren't a lot of cornerbacks.
Was there anyone at Dunmore High School in Pennsylvania that you think should be part of this conversation?
Not off the top of my head.
What about at Milford Academy?
Is that the one in Connecticut?
Yes.
No.
Who was the linebacker that Vic loved?
Sam Mills.
He'd probably, even though he's a linebacker, Vic would probably put him in that conversation.
Probably.
He loved Sam Mills.
Yeah, small guy who made
Yeah.
the most,
Yeah.
made it to the Hall of Fame.
That's why he loved me, I guess.
I guess. Did he love you?
I don't know. I don't know if Vic really loved anyone. Queen City Broncos. See, also wild if Vic's just sitting in the stadium for a game, just like a random 500 level.
Was he in the stadium?
You said the guy tweeted he was sitting next to him at the game.
He didn't say at the game. He just
Watching
said,
the game.
I'm watching the game with Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he could have just been at
okay.
Vic's house.
Okay, that's fair.
Which, like, wow. I can't believe Vic invited someone over to his house.
That's why I don't think that's what happened. Queen City Broncos CLT says, family, our patience is imperative with the offense. We've seen flashes of its potential, and we have examples of the time it takes to catch on. Rodgers and Matt Ryan are as examples. Do everyone a favor and discuss the first 2 years of them in this system. Be encouraged by the flashes we're seeing, the confidence the team is expressing in their belief of things to come. Enjoy us stacking wins while also getting better. This is our journey this year. I'm all for it because I know it's the investment for the long-term success with our team. Love you all. Allie, you're the MVP. Go Broncos. Brandon.
Yep.
Thanks.
And we touched on that a little bit. I do think it's worth going back to what we were saying before the season. It's like, this is not Super Bowl or bust. It's kind of playoffs or bust is probably the feeling. But, coming into it, I was saying go make a playoff appearance. Whatever happens, happens. But at least you know what you need to clean up for next year. And that's what this is all about.
What I've realized about Broncos country is it's not ever big picture or bust. It's win this week in a way that I like or bust.
That is true.
But to defend the other side, the Broncos offense, this is just offensively speaking, the defense has been incredible, and that's the reason they're 2-1. Without this defense, they're 0-3 without a doubt. This offense hasn't scored more than 16 points a game. You should lose every game that you don't score 17 or more points. They're averaging the second fewest points in the NFL. As an offense, they're averaging under 14 points per game. I think to expect the offense to take time to get going was 100% right. I still expect the offense to take maybe half a season, maybe even more than half a season to fully click, maybe even the whole season. But I think it's okay to expect 20 points per game as they're trying to figure this thing out. So I do think it's fair on both sides. I think there's a fair middle path of this where, okay, the offense we expected to struggle. Not this bad, though.
Yeah, no, I don't even think I expected them to struggle in these first 3 weeks except for against the 49ers. So I get it. But in the end, it really is in the NFL, you get 17 chances. Every time you win, it does not matter how you did it. Now, what we're doing here is we're trying to take the information that we get from these wins and apply it to the rest of the season, and that's why there's worry out there. But that takes away the thought of progressing within the offense, and I think that's the thing that you have to keep in mind is, hey, this offense can only get better from here.
You hope.
Ryan,
last week you said that, and they went out and put up 6 fewer points. You said they were not going to beat the 49ers scoring 16 points.
That's
and
not
they
what but you just said. I didn't say it can only get better from there last week. I said they can't beat the 49ers scoring less than 16.
You thought it was going to be better. You had them winning, so yes, you thought it was going to be better.
Yes, I did think it was going to be better, and in the red zone it was. So
as Nathaniel Hackett pointed out, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect game in the red zone. They're on a hot streak. But the point is, as long as you just keep finding ways to win, you're all right.
No, I disagree with that.
And you probably would have said that in week 3 of the 2015 season.
But I disagree because if you're finding ways to win where it's 11-10, you're not all right. Your defense is certainly all right, but then you do have to project in the future because, Ryan, that's just not going to hold up, though.
It did in 2015. I know, and I understand
they didn't do it to that extent. The offense was still averaging 20 points per game in 2015.
For sure, but the big thing is that the defense was was averaging less than the offense was scoring.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
And right now, if this offense scores under 13 points per game, the defense is not going to continue to do what they're doing of holding teams to 12 points per game.
No, they aren't. But the point is, you get a win, and then you get more time to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying is you can't. This is not sustainable. But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Every time you win, you get to be like, okay, whew, thank God we got that. Let's figure this out.
Yeah. And I just think we're talking about two different things right now, essentially. I agree with what you're saying. But I do think it's fair for people that are worried about the offense. I think it's okay to be worried to an extent.
I think everyone's worried a little bit.
And that's okay.
And some people are worried a lot, but no one's on the I'm not worried at all meter.
Yes.
Right.
And only 15 teams in the NFL are averaging 20 points a game.
Russ isn't worried. Only
Certainly
15
not.
teams?
15.
How many are averaging 15 or more?
Probably all of them.
A lot.
Yeah.
But again, like 2020, 28 teams had 20 or more points per game.
Interesting.
So it's
offense is just down right
the
now.
unders are hitting every week. So I mean, it's
but also
not to
in 2018,
excuse the
Broncos
problems.
were 6 points more than they are now.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth noting that the too high defense is getting everybody and everybody's concerned. That doesn't excuse the Broncos, but a lot of teams are saying we need to be better offensively.
What's crazy is like cover 2 isn't some new concept.
No.
But Henry, it feels like you are saying it gives the Broncos an excuse. List how many teams are ahead of the Broncos, though. I mean, aren't the Broncos the bottom 3 scoring
31.
team right now?
Yeah.
It's bottom 2. Okay. There
Oh,
we go.
totally. Yeah, no, it's not a
How
good
about
thing.
that? Broncos are the second worst scoring offense and the second best scoring defense.
Yep. Makes you a 500 team.
It makes you 2-1 team right now.
Yeah.
And you get to play a really bad defense. So if there's a time to get right, it's now. This time I will say it will be better this week. It's not going to get worse this week.
Not as bad as you think.
What do you mean?
We'll talk about tomorrow, about the Raiders defense. We'll really dive into the Raiders.
Man, I've watched it. It's bad. The Broncos are going to have matchups that they like in a lot of places.
We'll see. I'm just saying it's not as bad. It's a bad defense. I don't think it's as bad as people think. I think people think it's like a bottom 5, bottom 3 defense. It's not.
It's just you should be able to. It should look a lot more like the Seahawks game.
Yep.
And you should just punch it in the red zone.
I should. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Are we done?
One
That's
more.
Okay.
Nash Bronco does have one. And I can't find
The
it.
comparisons between Hackett's early time with Rodgers and Russ are very interesting to me. Not just the quarterbacks themselves, but the team surrounding them. A sound defense, Broncos is better. Decent O-line, Packers is better. 2 good or great running backs, a good receiving core. What kind of conversations are taking place between coach and quarterback that will hopefully lead to Russ taking off like Rodgers did as time goes on? I don't know. What do you tell Russ?
I really just think it's just time on task. Big coach phrase there. But you just need reps in this offense. And it's funny looking back at, the preseason as an opportunity to have gotten those that you passed up on. And, in the same way that, Russell Wilson is healthy and Justin Herbert is not right now, maybe you take solace in that. But it's time. You just need time. And you get that. And that's what I mean by you buy a week when you win a game.
Nathaniel Hackett said 2 things regarding this after the game. He said, 1, that the Broncos, it just takes time, just like you said. The Broncos, new system, new coaching staff. Russ hasn't done this often. He hasn't done this very often, so it's just going to take time. And 2, is it time to unleash Russ? Is he going to change the way he calls the game, the way he approaches games to let Russ cook, let Russ be himself in the fourth quarter? And the answer to that is no. Nathaniel Hackett is going to do what he's continued to do and call games the way he's been calling them and have plays be designed where running isn't Russ's second read. It's not his third read. It's going to be deep down in reads. And the reason for that is he thinks that he can win from the pocket and he wants to extend his career.
I mean, to me, there's no Nathaniel Hackett play call where he goes, hey, go run around for a little while and wait until Cortland gets open way downfield. Like, that's on unless Hackett is telling him not to do that specifically.
He is. He hasn't said those exact words, but very much alluded to Russ needs to stay in the pocket. We're trying to get him to stay in the pocket more. He said that multiple times.
Yeah, they're going to have to abandon that at some point.
I agree. And Nathaniel Hackett, at least publicly, isn't to that point yet.
Yeah. All right. We have gone super long, and we got to go. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate everyone who hit us with a thumbs up. Let's get a couple more from you on your way out. Appreciate all my Lake people, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.